with fantasy football season approaching, and some of you actually completed your fantasy drafts, here's the top 50 running backs I'm ranking heading into the year. Number 1, Saquon Barkley of the Philadelphia Eagles, coming off 2,000 yards last season. I know he had a big workload, obviously over 300 carries last year for Philadelphia, and he's on the Madden curse. Some people might think he don't have as big as a year, and I don't think a rush for 2,000 yards, but I still love the upside in that offense with Barkley. He really broke out, obviously, last season when he was still good with the Giants, but never reached heights like he did last year. And even though I've seen on some sites and obviously podcasts have Bijan ahead of him, I'm going to enter the season with Barkley at 1, number 2, Bijan Robinson of the Atlanta Falcons. So the only thing I think Bijan's better than Saquon Barkley and has on his side is age and receiving back out of the backfield, these Bijan. But we'll see what he does this season with Michael Penix in there, quarterback. The last couple of years, it's been a quarterback carousel. Desmond Ridder a couple years ago, Taylor Heineke in that same season, and then last year Kirk Cousins and Penix towards the end of the year. So Bijan only entering his third season, one of the most complete backs already only in his third year. And this season, once again, I think he goes out there and is a big season. I just like Saquon just a little bit more this year. Number 3, Jahmyr Gibbs of the Detroit Lions, another back entering his third season with this Lion team. Him and Montgomery, the best running back tandem in all pro football. And Jahmyr Gibbs, he could do it all, carry a full workload if needed in between the tackles, goal line. We've seen him get a lot of opportunities and catching the football out of the backfield. An elite pass catcher is Gibbs. So this season, once again, I think he goes out there and it's a big year for Christian McCaffrey of the San Francisco 49ers. So McCaffrey, when healthy, he's got potential to possibly be the best running back in fantasy football once again and take that crown. After last year, he missed pretty much the whole year, is McCaffrey. So not much going on over there in San Francisco. Debo got traded. Brandon Ayuk, we don't know when he's going to return from his injury. Jawan Jennings holding out, and he's banged up as well. So CMC in the Shanahan offense, he's going to go out there. He's going to do his thing. And I think as long as he's healthy, like I said, he's got potential to take the number 1 spot at the running back position. Once again, number 5, Ashton Jinty of the Las Vegas Raiders. So a lot of hype coming into the year with Jinty. And this was the same type of hype that Bijan Robinson had a couple seasons ago. So Jinty, we know he's a bull. We saw it in that preseason game a few days ago where he was running 49 defenders over. And it was close for me with him and Devon Achane at that 5 spot coming into the year. But now with the Achane injury in training camp, and he's day-to-day, week-to-week type of thing, Jinty gets the number 5 spot. He's going to get a big workload. I know the offensive line isn't great over there in Vegas, but like I said, this guy's one of the better running back prospects to come out in the last decade, and he's working on the catching the football as well, even more in that backfield with obviously Chip Kelly, the offensive coordinator, and now new head coach Pete Carroll, number 6, Devon Achane of the Miami Dolphins. So like I said, he's got a lower body injury entering the season as Achane, but Mike McDaniel's still confident he'll be ready for week 1. And Achane last season, he lasted the whole season carrying a full workload where Raheem Mostert wasn't a factor. I know they got Jalen Wright in the backfield entering his second season, but Achane, he'll be the every down back if healthy. And like I said, even with a little injury 2 weeks away from the season starting, I still think Achane goes out there and he's ready to go. Number 7, Derrick Henry of the Baltimore Ravens. So Derrick Henry, arguably, some people have him as that 4th or 5th running back overall. No, we don't catch the football out of the backfield, so he takes a hit right away in PPR leagues. We know he's up there in age, even though he's overcome the age stuff over the last couple seasons and looked even rejuvenated in Baltimore last season with the best rushing attack in pro football. And he's a bull. He's like a Mack truck as well, coming downhill full speed, where safety or a corner in the second level isn't going to tackle him. But like I said, sooner than later, it's going to catch up to Henry a little bit, and he don't catch the football like these other running backs I mentioned. Number 8, Bucky Irvin of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So Bucky Irvin, he's been moving up my list over the last couple weeks here, where I had Taylor ahead of him, but now Bucky Irvin in that number 8 spot. Last season, it was a great rookie season, over 1,300 yards from scrimmage. He caught over 45 passes, and this year from the get-go, if he's starting week 1, obviously, which he will be, Bucky Irvin, sky's the limit in this offense in Tampa Bay, where they got a lot of weapons and teams aren't going to surround and stack the box, where they got Mike Evans, Emeka Egbuka. We'll see what Chris Godwin does when he comes back. Cade Otton can make plays at tight end. and Baker plays obviously backyard football. So with all those factors and Bucky Irvin showing toughness and great running ability and receiving ability out of the backfield, I like him a lot this season. Number 9, Jonathan Taylor of the Indianapolis Colts. So pretty much Taylor, he's a complete back in terms of between the tackles, physicality, and handling 300 touches per year. The only thing, obviously, with Taylor, he just can't catch the football out of the backfield. The most you're going to get out of him is anywhere from 15, 25 catches possibly this season. But I think this offense will be well equipped. Daniel Jones wins the starting job. But Taylor last year, the last 3-4 games of the year, was a man possessed, and he helped a lot of fantasy teams win championships with those monster performances. So this year, I think Taylor, once again, he's going to get a lot of touch. But if he caught the football more out of the backfield, he could be possibly in that top 5 conversation. Number 10, Chase Brown of the Cincinnati Bengals. He's been moving up the board as well the last couple weeks as Chase Brown. And obviously with no competition over there, Zach Morris, he's not on the roster. He got hurt last season. Brown, we know he's capable of catching 50, 60 passes out of the backfield. And he's in a juggernaut of an offense with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, obviously, and T. Higgins. So this season, once again, where this offense will be one of the high-scoring teams in the league, and Chase Brown, no competition in that backfield. I think he goes out there, has another nice year. Number 11, Kyren Williams of the Los Angeles Rams. So Williams, a lot of people were skeptical a little bit coming into the year if this Ram team was really committed to him. But obviously now he signed an extension a couple weeks ago. And Kyren, he's a double-digit touchdown guy. Small back, I know, but he's carried a big workload, and he fits this Sean McVay system a lot. So I like Williams this season in an offense with Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams, where teams have to pay attention to those players to go out there and do his thing. Once again, number 12, Omarion Hampton of the Los Angeles Chargers. See, he's been moving up draft boards as well over the last few weeks as Hampton. And Hampton, he's just got that 3-down ability. And Najee Harris right now, obviously, he's banged up and he really hasn't practiced at all in training camp with his eye injury. So Hampton, he's a 3-down back, first-round pick this season. Greg Roman did say, though, obviously they're going to rotate backs in and out. So even if Harris is out, let's say week 1, Hassan Haskins is going to get some work, but he's not really going to be a threat to Hampton. Hampton could be on a Jahmyr Gibbs type of pitch count where he gets 15, 20 touches per game, and he's a hybrid type of back and still put up monster fantasy points. I like Hampton's upside a lot. He's on a good team with this Los Angeles Charger team, and adding Keenan Allen helps this offense to open the running game a little bit more. Even with Slater out for the season, I'm not backing off from taking Hampton as a top 12 back. 13, Josh Jacobs of the Green Bay Packers. So I'm a little bit down on Jacobs coming into the year. I know some drafts he's going in that 17th to 20th overall range is Josh Jacobs. I still think he's a number 2 running back for fantasy owners. So let's say you went into the year with like a Bijan Robinson or something and Jacobs. That's a very solid backfield. But Jacobs, another running back that don't really catch the football out of the backfield a lot. And Jordan Love is, if healthier, this season, where he was banged up majority of the season last year. I think they're going to air that football out more. And let's remember, their first-round pick was receiver Matthew Golden, so we know they want to pass the football a little bit more, is this Packer team. Number 14, James Cook of the Buffalo Bills. So he moved up a couple spots as well for me as James Cook. He signed a contract extension last week, so he's locked down for this Bill team, and I got confidence in him. And last season, he was a touchdown machine where he did depend a lot on touchdowns to get a lot of his points, because a lot of ball games he didn't have a lot of yards is James Cook, and his receiving prowess wasn't great. But right now, getting that contract, another year in this offense with Josh Allen, I think James Cook is a solid top 15 option this year. 15, Breece Hall of the New York Jets. So Hall, he's fallen off a little bit in my rankings. I was higher on him 2-3 weeks ago, but now what we've seen happen in the preseason, Brandon Allen starting to get some work. And also, Aaron Glenn, the head coach of the New York Jets, said he liked the system they were running, obviously, in Detroit, where he was the defensive coordinator with Gibbs and Montgomery. So I think we might see a 2-back system a little bit. Still, Breece Hall, a way better receiver out of the backfield than a Brandon Allen, and a big physical back as well. But like I said, this Jet team, it possibly could be a 60-40 split entering the year. So Hall drops down a few spots for me. 16, Kenneth Walker of the Seattle Seahawks. So Kenneth Walker, when healthy, we know he's an elite back. He's got the home run hitting ability. He can catch the football out of the backfield. And this offense wants to play faster pace. this year, Seattle. They added Sam Darnold in free agency, signed Cooper Kupp in free agency, traded Metcalf, JSN now the number one wideout over there, and they drafted the rookie Arroyo at the tight end position. So as long as he's healthy, Kenneth Walker, we know he's a workhorse. I know Charbonnet's in that backfield as well, but we saw it the last couple of years. Even with Charbonnet there, when Walker's healthy, he's getting 75% of the touches. 17, Alvin Kamara of the New Orleans Saints. So maybe I'm higher on Kamara than consensus, but Kamara every season, he's been a PPR machine. I don't even think with Tyler Show or Spencer Rattler, whoever wins that quarterback job there in New Orleans, it's going to matter. Kamara, a lot of dump-offs, a lot of screens they set up for him, and there's not much going on in that passing game. And now with Taysom Hill possibly out a majority of the season, still healing from the ACL and other injuries last year, he's not going to obviously steal goal line work from Alvin Kamara. And like I said, Alvin Kamara every year, a lot of people think he's washed, but with his pass-catching ability, he finds a way in the top 50 every season. 18, Trevion Henderson of the New England Patriots says the weeks have gone on and 2 preseason games have passed. Trevion Henderson's definitely jumping up the ranking board. Ramondre Stevenson right now, undisclosed injury. He's missed some days of training camp in the preseason game. And Henderson, we've seen the explosiveness. And this Patriot team, we know, needs playmakers on the offense. So Henderson could catch the football out of the backfield. He's got that second-level home run hitting ability to break a big one. And we saw a 100-yard return from him as well in the first preseason game. 19, Chuba Hubbard of the Carolina Panthers. So Chuba Hubbard, he's going to get the work once again in that backfield. I know they brought in Rico Dowdle, who had a good year with Dallas last year, 1,000 yards rushing, and drafting Etienne's brother in the NFL draft. But Carolina gave him a nice extension during the year last season. And Hubbard, he's been an under-the-radar running back. I know he's a smaller back as well, but he's been a 3-down back, and he's proven it. Number 20, David Montgomery of the Detroit Lions. So David Montgomery, we know he's going to lose a couple more touches this season, but he's still a big guy at the goal line for this Detroit Lion team. And these guys are fresh all season long because they switch off drives. One drive goes to Gibbs, one goes to Montgomery, and then obviously in passing down situations, you're going to see Jahmyr Gibbs on the field for Detroit more than Montgomery. But it's a great tandem back there in the backfield. Montgomery, I think he could score double-digit touchdowns once again, rush anywhere from 700 to 800 yards, catch 30 or 40 passes, and he's a solid number 2 back for owners entering the year. 21, RJ Harvey of the Denver Broncos. I know some people are higher on Harvey than I am coming into the year, but like I said, Sean Payton throughout his career, he likes using multiple backs in his backfield, just going off a track record. So they brought in J.K. Dobbins before preseason. They got the big back Audric Estime as well, who got some play last season in his rookie year. And also Jaleel McLaughlin has shown he's got some explosiveness and could be a 3rd-down back at times. But Harvey, 2nd-round pick in the NFL draft, they're going to use him in different ways, obviously, as Sean Payton. And I like him as a solid RB2 for fantasy owners. And he's just a player that didn't crack the top 50. He's more in that 55 to 60 range for me. 22, Tony Pollard of the Tennessee Titans. So Tony Pollard, very underrated coming into the year. Last season, once again, 1,300 yards from scrimmage for Tony Pollard. Tajay Spears banged up now with a leg injury. We don't know if he's going to be ready for week 1. And Tony Pollard, even a small back, we've seen it in Dallas. He can handle full workload. Saw last season in Tennessee in his first full year with the Titans. And also now with Cam Ward coming in, that's a major upgrade at quarterback where running lanes could be open. And we know Ward can make things happen in this offense where it could help Pollard, Calvin Ridley, and this offense as a whole. 23, James Conner of the Arizona Cardinals. So Conner, he's been a solid running back throughout his career, going back to his Pittsburgh Steelers days. I know Trey Benson might eat into the workload a little bit where he's been praising him and the coaching staff is talking him up. But James Conner last season, full workload he had. Benson was there. He didn't see much of the field to do much. So Conner, I'm not worried about him. And like I said, I know he's been injury prone and he's getting up there in age a little bit at the running back position, but still a solid guy in an offense that has great weapons in McBride and Harrison, where running lanes should be open for Conner. 24, DeAndre Swift of the Chicago Bears. So this Bear team, now Ben Johnson, head coach. He was the offensive coordinator for the Lions. the last few seasons, and I wonder if they're going to use him in the way they used Jahmyr Gibbs, getting open in space. We know Swift's a pretty solid receiver out of the backfield, and this offense could be very explosive with a lot of weapons. DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Luther Bird, and they drafted Colston Loveland, and you got Swift in the backfield where he's had some of those flash games, and believe it or not, every season of his NFL career, he's finished in the top 24 in points per game, 25 Aaron Jones of the Minnesota Vikings. I know Jones, they brought in Jordan Mason in the offseason, made a deal for him, but Aaron Jones last season showed he still has the explosiveness, still could go out there and make plays. I know the ceiling isn't that high, and I think Mason, by midseason, worst case, will be eaten into the workload for Aaron Jones, but this offense early on might rely on the run with the young quarterback J.J. McCarthy in this offense, even though they got great players like Justin Jefferson, T.J. Hawkinson, and Jordan Addison once he returns from his 3-game suspension. 26, Isaiah Pacheco of the Kansas City Chiefs. So it's a contract year for Pacheco. He missed majority of the season last year, and I thought Kareem Hunt filled in well. And then once he returned in the later part of the season, the burst wasn't just there, and Pacheco didn't do much. But now with a full training camp and healthy and running his routes crisper and looking better, reports are coming out. I think Pacheco could be in for a surprising season. But right now, I'm going to temper expectations going into the year because I think this Chief team is going to try to get Mahomes back on track and try to be an offense that could put up 30 points a game like they did a few years ago. 27 Caleb Johnson of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I'm not that high on Caleb Johnson going into the season. I know some websites and there's some buzz about Caleb Johnson, but we know Aaron Rodgers throughout his career, he don't like a lot of rookie running backs. Pass protection's a huge thing for Rodgers, especially at 41 years old now, where if you get a hand on him, he's going to take a big hit and take a sack and go down. So Johnson, right now, I think he's still going to be an early down back with Jaylen Warren, one of the better passing down backs in the league, but the upside, I don't see being much, especially as a Trevion Henderson, Hampton, or an RJ Harvey and Ginty. Those rookie running backs are way above, in my opinion, than the Johnson entering the season. 28, Tyrone Tracy of the New York Giants. I thought Tracy last season was solid. I know he had some fumble issues late in games that cost the Giants a couple games in the fourth quarter, but he's going to be the man over there. I know they drafted Cam Scatterbo, but injuries have held him back in training camp and in the preseason. And Tracy's got burst. He's got 3-down ability. I know his pass protection needs a little bit of work, but he's a decent receiver out of the backfield. And he's going under the radar right now. So I like Tracy. He's going to be starting, winning that job, it looks like, for this New York Giant team and someone that can help fantasy owners this year. 29, Joe Mixon of the Houston Texans. So Mixon dropping down draft boards very quickly with pretty much no straight answer if he's going to be ready for week 1 or not. Is Joe Mixon. Last season, he got out of the gate hot, and he was an elite running back in the early going. Then he got banged up. He didn't do much for a few weeks after he returned. Then he got back on track a little bit with this Texan team. And then now Joe Mixon's been banged up all the training camp. So if the season started, let's say Sunday, Nick Chubb will be the starting running back, even though the reports on him haven't been good, even though he got a majority of the work in early down back for the preseason, where I know they got the rookie Marks, but he's more of a passing downs back, and Dameon Pierce is there as well for this Houston Texan team. But if Mixon somehow makes it week 1, I still think he could be a solid back end 2, 3 back for fantasy owners. 30, J.K. Dobbins of the Denver Broncos. So I think I'm higher on Dobbins than consensus entering the season. Dobbins, it just seems like every year he finds a way, if it's with the Ravens, the Chargers last season, where he's going to get good workload, and especially early down work, where RJ Harvey, we might see him early in the season be a 3rd down back and a change of pace back. So entering the year, Dobbins, he's going that 8th to 10th round range in fantasy drafts, and he could be a guy that helps you out early in the season. And then, unfortunately, we know what happens with Dobbins as the year goes on. He can't last, and he gets injured. But like I said, this season, going in under the radar again, Dobbins, and I have him cracking the top 30. 31, Jordan Mason of the Minnesota Vikings. I mentioned earlier, as the year goes on, he could eat into Aaron Jones' workload. And we know Aaron Jones has had injuries on and off throughout his NFL career. And Mason, a nice contract as well, where the Niners didn't want to pay him, so they traded him to Minnesota and they gave him a decent contract. So Mason, we saw him fill in last year for McCaffrey, had some big games. Then he gassed out. He got hurt as well, and Garendo stepped in. But like I said, this is a backfield to keep an eye on. And Mason, one of the best handcuffs in all pro football. 32, Jaylen Warren of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So Warren, I think he's going to have more of a say in this backfield than people think, than a Caleb Johnson entering the season. Warren could catch the football out of the backfield. Good pass protector, better than Caleb Johnson. And we know Aaron Rodgers, he likes that in his running backs, especially in his older age where he don't want to take big hits and he wants that pass protection. So Warren, I think especially early in the season, is going to get more touches than people think. And I think as someone in that 8th to 9th round range is a solid pick as a backup running back for fantasy teams. 33, Travis Etienne of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Etienne, I thought he was going to be a nice running back for years to come, but his stock has definitely fallen over the last couple seasons. It's Etienne. So right now, it's him and Bigsby fighting it out for the starting job. I think Etienne is going to win it out. But Tank Bigsby, we saw last season, in between the tackles, he's the better running back and more physical back, where Etienne's more finesse and a receiving back out of the backfield. But I think Etienne wins that starting job going into the season. 34, Zach Charbonnet of the Seattle Seahawks. One of the best handcuff backs in all pro football, Zach Charbonnet. Physical in between the tackles. I know Kenneth Walker is going to be the starter, but I think Charbonnet, as the year goes on, could get that workload up a little bit more. And we know Walker's had some injuries as well over the last couple seasons. So say Walker goes down, Charbonnet steps right in to being a top 15, 18 back this season. So right now, he's definitely someone in that 10th, 11th round range to stash for fantasy owners. 35, Javonte Williams of the Dallas Cowboys. So I'm not big on this backfield at all. It could be a committee over there in Dallas with Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, and the rookie Jaden Blue entering the year. But Javonte Williams, let's say the season started this week, he'd be the favorite, in my opinion, to start for this Dallas Cowboy team. Believe it or not, only 25 years old. Another year removed from ACL injury, maybe he could surprise. But this Cowboy team, I think, is going to be trailing a lot this season and have to throw the football a lot, where Javonte Williams won't be a factor like he was last season at Broncos, where he wasn't a factor in most games. 36, Ramondre Stevenson of the New England Patriots. So right now, he's missed some training camp and one preseason game with an undisclosed injury. And like I said earlier, Travion Henderson, he's moving up the rankings pretty quickly, and he looks like the better back. I know Stevenson got a contract extension last year with this Patriot team, but this is a new regime, especially the coaching staff, with Mike Vrabel entering his first season as the head coach. Stevenson, I still think he'll get some early back work, but as the year goes on and they need more playmaking ability on the field, I think we're going to see Henderson quickly get that job and get a lot of touches and playing a Jahmyr Gibbs type of role. 37, Cam Scatterbo of the New York Giants. So Scatterbo, a lot of hype coming into training camp about Scatterbo for this New York Giant team. And even fantasy owners were ranking him over Tyrone Tracy. But like I said, Tracy showed last year he could be a 3-down back, make the plays, and work in between the tackles. Even though I think Scatterbo is going to get an opportunity, but right now he's banged up with a hamstring injury going in. And that's why Tracy has moved up the rankings. He's going to be the starter, and Scatterbo dropped down, where if you miss training camp, that's a crucial part, obviously. I know some people, they don't play preseason and stuff, but that training camp is big, and you need those reps. Because when you see a player hold out, which we've seen year in and year out, it takes them a little bit to get going and get their legs under them. So training camp's obviously a big thing. 38, Tank Bigsby of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So like I said earlier, Travis Etienne, in my opinion, is going to be the starter going into the year. Bigsby can't catch the football out of the backfield, more in between the tackles and early down back and goal line at times. But Bigsby, just the upside isn't big, in my opinion. And also, let's remember, they drafted Bashal Tutin with decent draft capital entering the season. So at this part, these are the lower tiered backs, but guys who still can help fantasy owners, and good stashes in the 12th to 15th round range. 39, Jerome Ford of the Cleveland Browns. So Jerome Ford, a lot of people are down on him, but I think he's going to be the starter entering week 1 for this Cleveland Brown team. Dylan Sampson, he was a 4th round pick. I don't think there's much going on with him. We didn't see him much in the preseason. Quentin Johnston's reports came out now that he still didn't sign his rookie deal. Even off the field issue, they're going to wait for the investigation to bring him back to training camp is Cleveland. And to me, it just sounds like he's a running back totally falling off the board. He's not going to see the field, at least for the first half of the season, it sounds like to me. By the time he gets his legs under him, gets his stuff sorted out, signs that contract, it's going to take a while for Jenkins to really have a fantasy impact. So going into the season right now, I think Jerome Ford's going to be the starting running back for this Cleveland Brown team. Number 40, Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt of the Washington Commanders. A lot of good reports coming out of training camp for the rookie Merritt, and it looks like he's going to be the starter stepping in, where Brian Robinson, he was supposed to play in the preseason game on Monday, and that didn't happen, where they're looking either for a deal or to cut Brian Robinson loose. Krosky Merritt in that preseason game had a nice ball game, 11 carries, 46 yards, and found the end zone. And like I said, with all the rave reviews out of training camp, and now showing it in the second preseason game, that he could go out there and handle the work and put points on the board. I think Krosky Merritt entering the season is going to be the starter with Austin Ekeler mixed in, where I think it could be a 60-40 split in the beginning, where Ekeler is still going to be that third down and passing downs back, and Krosky Merritt, he's going to be the Brian Robinson role, where he's in between the tackles early, and obviously he's going to be goal line back as well, where he's more of a physical back than Austin Ekeler at this part of Ekeler's career. But he won Braylon Allen of the New York Jets. Braylon Allen, a big physical running back last season. He got decent work in his rookie year, and he's only 20 years old entering his second season. So in a preseason game, him and Breece Hall, for the most part, they were splitting over there for this New York Jet team in that second preseason game. So Braylon Allen, 6'1", 235. Once he's downhill, that's like a Mack truck coming at you. And Aaron Glenn even said he likes running back by committee with two running backs in there, like they had in Detroit with Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery, where he was the defensive coordinator there the last couple seasons. So Breece Hall, he's falling down the rankings a little bit at the running back position, where Braylon Allen, he's moving up. And now after a nice preseason outing, and Aaron Glenn likes him a lot entering the season. Allen, he's a big-time handcuff and a running back. If anything happened to Hall, went down with injury, or possibly getting traded, where we've heard rumblings on and off the whole offseason and some training camp, but Allen could be a top 15, 18 back, 42, Trey Benson of the Arizona Cardinals. So last season, Benson, he didn't do anything as the backup. He even started a game, and Mick filled in for James Conner. And Conner, we know he's been an injury-prone back throughout his NFL career, but I think Trey Benson this year will get more work. They used some decent draft capital on him a few years ago in the NFL draft. And Conner, he's getting up there at age where running backs start to fall apart and production goes down as well. So Benson right now, he's a good handcuff. Later rounds, you could get most of these running backs. And this season, I think we'll see more work. And there's good reports out of training camp as well with Trey Benson. 43, Austin Ekeler of the Washington Commanders. So now with Brian Robinson out of the mix over there in Washington, Ekeler is going to step in. Krosky Merritt, obviously, he's going to be the number one back in between the tackles. With Austin Ekeler, he's going to work on third downs. And in the passing game, well, last season, it was a good role for Austin Ekeler. It was a nice 1-2 combo with Robinson and obviously Ekeler, but they just wanted the more explosive back in Merritt was this Washington Commander team. So Austin Ekeler, he's still going to get a lot of work, I think. He's a veteran, obviously, for many seasons, had good years with the Chargers, and even last year, a lot of PPR, double-digit games in PPR scoring last season for Ekeler. Just the only thing, he's up there in age now at the position, and also concussions were a factor for him missing games last year, which obviously isn't a good thing. 44, Nick Chubb of the Houston Texans. If the season started this week, Chubb will be the number one running back. It's a mystery when Joe Mixon's going to return and if he'll even be ready at week one. So Nick Chubb, a lot of reports are coming out. He hasn't looked good, but I think by default he's going to be the starting running back if Mixon isn't ready. Mark's the rookie. He's more of a passing downs back. Obviously, he still has to grasp the playbook and work in between the tackles, where that wasn't his game in college. And Dameon Pierce, I think that experiment is over as well, where he's just a depth piece and not really a player that's going to see the field unless there's multiple injuries in the backfield. So Nick Chubb, we'll see if he has anything left in the tank. But obviously coming off of 2 major knee injuries in the last 3-4 years isn't a good thing, especially last season, totally shattering that knee and coming back. So it's going to take time for him to get going. Is Chubb 45, Bashal Tutin of the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's dropped down my draft board as Bashal Tutin, where now it looks like he'll be the third string running back for this Jacksonville team, where it's pretty much ETN and Tank Bigsby fighting it out for the starting job and the most work. But Tutin in the second half of the year could be a running back that obviously has some upside. But right now, like I said, he's dropped down my rankings. ETN and Bigsby are going to be the starter, and he's going to be a third string back. You're going to need an injury or both those guys to totally be duds for Tutin to step in. But if you want to wait in the later rounds and stash him on your bench, especially in keeper or dynasty leagues, I get that more than your redraft leagues. 46, Rachaad White of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So Rachaad White, he was one of the better pass-catching running backs in the league 2023. And then last season, in between the tackles, running again, yards per carry were horrible with White. He was one of the worst yard per carry back in the league and pretty much was only usable on third down and passing downs back. And then Bucky Irving, week 4, week 5, really stepped in and took off from then. And now Irving, one of the best backs in fantasy football entering the season. And Rachaad White now nothing more than a handcuff and an occasional third down back where Bucky Irving we know could catch the football out of the backfield. Good pass protector and could play all 3 downs. So White now taking a back seat. 47, Najee Harris of the Los Angeles Chargers. So Najee Harris, he's missed all the training camp with an eye injury. Amarian Hampton, impressive first-round rookie. I think he's going to start from day one and never look back, where Harris will be nothing more than a change of pace back. Even though Greg Roman said they're going to rotate running backs with Hassan Haskins if Harris ain't ready. And obviously if Harris is ready, he's going to rotate with Hampton. But either way, he's only on a 1-year deal. That's money they obviously could cut loose if Harris doesn't show up. And Harris, he was one of the better running backs many seasons ago, but he just can't get it going in between the tackles. And he's not the prototypical running back where he don't really catch the football out of the backfield. So if he's not doing those things, is Harris. His value is very low. And that's why he had to settle for a 1-year deal with the Chargers. And then the Chargers obviously went out there in the NFL draft after they signed him in free agency and took Hampton, who's got more explosiveness and way more upside and a better back than Harris at this point of his NFL career. Brian Robinson Jr. of the Washington Commanders. Any day now, we could see a report where he gets cut or he gets traded before the 53-man roster is final after the last week of the preseason. So looks like Merritt's going to take over as the running back over there. Christian Rodriguez with Austin Eckler in the mix as well in this backfield. And it was a mutual agreement in that preseason game Monday for Brian Robinson not to play. So Brian Robinson, he was in the top 30 for me early in the preseason here. But now with this news coming down, even though I know he'll land with another team, just depends who he lands with, which role he gets as Brian Robinson. Right now, he's not really a running back I'd have confidence in drafting. And let's say he goes with a team like the San Francisco 49ers where they want more backup control over there if Christian McCaffrey goes down. I wouldn't like the landing spot because I think Orlando overall is a better running back than Robinson. So right now, with him most likely leaving Washington, and it's unknown where he's going to land, and it might not be an ideal spot. Robinson's not really a running back. I'm going after even in the late part of my fantasy drafts where he's going to slide now after this news coming out. 49, Tyjae Spears of the Tennessee Titans. So Tyjae Spears, towards the end of the season when he finally got healthy, he came on and put on some big points and made some plays for this Tennessee Titan team. And he's a solid receiver out of the backfield, a small back. Well, obviously will never have a 3-down role, and obviously with Tony Pollard there as well. Pollard will get the early downs, and Tyjae Spears will get third downs and more passing downs as well. But now with the leg injury and his draft stock falling, he's definitely a running back that could still be under the radar, even though I'd like Tony Pollard to be majority of the shareholder in that backfield this season. And the 50th and final running back I'm ranking is Dylan Sampson of the Cleveland Browns. So Jerome Ford is going to start the season as the starting running back, I believe, for this Cleveland Brown team. And also as well, we just don't know when Quentin Junkins, if he's going to come back at all this season for this Cleveland Brown team. So with those factors, and Jerome Ford, like I said, he's handled the workload in the past when Nick Chubb was out with injury last season and even a couple years ago. Right now, Dylan Sampson, a 4th-round pick in the NFL draft. Not a great profile. He's more of a change of pace, couple carries here and there, and a 2nd or 3rd string running back. But like I said, I don't expect Dylan Sampson out of a class key running backs coming out to have much of an impact like other websites and consensus. That's the top 50 running backs I'm ranking entering the 2025 fantasy football season.